When Volkswagen of America realized that they needed to go all in on SUVs, the company started the process with the introduction of the three-row Atlas SUV all the way back in 2017. Now, the company followed it up with a slightly smaller version known as the Atlas Cross Sport, which also got a significant update just like its bigger brother, the Atlas, back in 2024. We're talking about a pretty significant change. The outside got some new styling on the front and in the rear. The interior got the company's latest 12-inch infotainment system, and underneath the hood, Volkswagen has replaced the two powertrains with one 2-liter turbo that delivered more horsepower and torque versus the previous model year. So as you can see, this week we are testing out a new trim level of the Atlas Cross Sport. This is a 2025 Cross Sport in the SEL R-Line Black Edition, and the big question I want answered, for those of you who are looking for a mid-size family SUV and you don't necessarily need 3 rows, has Volkswagen made enough changes to the Cross Sport to keep buyers flocking into showrooms? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the exterior styling of this latest 2025 Atlas Cross Sport, let me go ahead and pop the hood and remind you guys what's powering this thing. Now, when Volkswagen first launched the Atlas in America, they offered a choice between a 2-liter turbo or a VR6, a 6-cylinder engine. However, when they significantly revised it last year, they replaced both of those motors with the latest version of their 2-liter EA888 4-cylinder. Now, the Atlas is a big vehicle, but what you're going to find here is plenty of space under the engine bay for a 2-liter turbo gasoline direct injection 4-cylinder engine. And in this vehicle, it continues to make a pretty decent 269 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque. Now, that is a little bit less, about 7 horsepower less versus the old VR6. However, this does have more torque, and it also has significantly more power versus the pre-refresh version of this powertrain, which again was their older 2-liter turbo. It all goes out through an 8-speed conventional torque converter automatic, and Volkswagen offers a choice between either front-wheel drive or the company's 4Motion all-wheel drive system, which my particular test car obviously has. Fuel economy is rated at 19 in the city and 26 on the highway. That is at least on regular gas. This vehicle has an 18.6-gallon fuel tank. You're looking at around 380 miles of range on a full tank. Now, VW doesn't quote a 0-60 time. The last Atlas 3-row that we tested did it in around 7.3 seconds. Top speed should be just under 120 miles an hour. And this is a relatively big SUV that rides on the MQB architecture, so it's shocking that it can actually tow up to 5,000 pounds. As this car sits, VW says it weighs in at just under 4,400 pounds, so it's technically around 200 to 300 pounds lighter versus the Atlas 3-row, which makes sense considering this is around 6 inches shorter. But let's go ahead and close up the hood here and talk about the exterior styling of the vehicle. Now, like I mentioned earlier, this car got a significant refresh last year. Technically, Volkswagen gave the Atlas 2 refreshes, one in 2021, another in 2024. The Cross Sport first showed up in 2020, so with the new front fascia, I have to say VW's done a pretty good job with keeping this model fresh, even though it's technically due for a redesign. This exterior color that I'm showing you is technically new this year. It's called Mountain Lake Blue Metallic. It is definitely a very beautiful shade. It's very rich blue that doesn't have any metallic fleck in it, but it works really well with the lines of the Atlas Cross Sport. You can see all of them come with their IQ light technology, which means full LED headlights with twin projectors. You have an LED daytime running light, LED turn signal. It has that LED light bar that goes across the front of the vehicle with the illuminated Volkswagen logo. Now, you do have to go with the SE technology to get the illuminated logo and light bar. But this vehicle in general is relatively affordable, but also very well equipped. I like the larger Volkswagen grille, obviously, which has some functional openings down here at the lower fascia. The R-Line package includes a more aggressive front bumper with black accents with faux and fake venting, of course. The front splitter is also gloss black. It has integrated parking sensors. There's an R badge there to let you know you have the R-Line model, but this trim here is lacking a front or full 360 camera system. That's what you're gonna get if you add in the premium package, which is one step above the SEL R-Line Black. Now, moving around the side profile, like I mentioned earlier, this vehicle is big. It rides on a very heavily modified MQB architecture, although it's the older one. It's not the MQB Evo that we've seen on some of the newer VW products, but moving around the side profile, this is still a nicely proportioned vehicle with a 117.3-inch wheelbase and a 195.5-inch overall length. This is around 5 inches shorter than the 3-row version of the Atlas, and it's on the bigger end of the mid-size 2-row SUV scale. It's pretty much around the same size as the Honda Passport, but bigger than Nissan Murano and a Toyota Crown Signia. Looking at the wheels, these are unique to the R-Line Black Edition. You can see they're a 20-inch double 5-spoke design with a kind of directional spoke to it. It's riding on a 255 by 50 R20. It looks like it's a Nexen Rhodian all-season tire. Brake rotors are all discs, 13.2 inches in the front, 12 inches in the rear, all independent suspension, but no adaptive dampers. There's also a tasteful amount of cladding along the wheel arch trim, although it would have looked better if it was a full paint finish. It is a full paint finish, at least around the side, with a subtle little black accent. There's a little Cross Sport badge here to let everybody know you have the sportier, smaller Atlas, and this vehicle has roughly 6.5 inches of ground clearance according to Volkswagen. Now, of course, with the Black Edition, you get black painted side mirrors, which are not power folding, no 360 camera, but you do have an integrated turn signal. You'll get those features on the premium package. At least this model still includes a panoramic sunroof, which looks nice. The roof rails are low profile and they're also blacked out, which is great. And then you can see, looking at the profile, it kind of reminds you again of the Audi Q8. It has that sportback look to it, which I think is very tasteful, although I do think personally that the 3-row model actually looks better. This kind of squashed down rear for me, I think is, a very trendy design, but the rear end also looks very distinctive. VW gave it a significant overhaul last year. It's got the very trendy full-length LED light or light bar that goes across the back. The rear Volkswagen logo is also illuminated, which is a really interesting touch. It's again only included when you guys go for the tech package and up. The turn signals are also LED. The taillights are full LED. There's a subtle little SEL badge there in black, along with a 4Motion badge there to let everyone know you have all-wheel drive. The rear bumper also is more aggressive on the R-Line package models, and it looks like it has a quad outlet exhaust, as you can see, but those are actually fake. There's no outlet for it. The actual exhaust is underneath here, and it's tucked away, as you can see, so it's technically just a dual exhaust. A tow package is included. When I believe you guys go for the SEL trim and up, there's a subtle little spoiler back here along with a third brake light, and then you can see it's got that rear window wiper, although it would have looked better if it was tucked underneath the spoiler and hidden from sight. Now, looking at the cargo area, a hands-free power liftgate is included if you guys go for the SE Tech package and up, but as you can see, cargo space is also among the best in the segment at 40.8 cubic feet of storage space with the seats up. Obviously, with that sloping roof, it's going to eat into your, roof or your space at the top or at the roof of the interior, but you do have some good storage off to the side. You also have some underfloor storage here, along with, it looks like a temporary spare tire underneath there, which is pretty nice. This is a big cargo area. If you want, you can fold down the seats, which unfortunately you can't actually fold the seats from back here. I think that considering how far it is, there should be a release, and that's kind of annoying how there isn't a release, but I do want to show you guys this really cool trick, because when you fold down the seat, I'm actually shocked to see just how flat the floor is. Actually, it's so flat that it actually goes a little bit lower than the cargo floor, but when you fold down the back seat, it expands the cargo to just under 78 cubic feet of storage space. With 78 is among the best in the segment. The last Honda Passport that I tested had pretty similar amounts of space. There's also the Mazda CX-70, which is also pretty, cavernous, but the Mazda is around 5 inches longer than this vehicle. So again, if you're looking for one of the most generous cargo spaces in the 2-row midsize class, you're going to be looking at the Atlas Cross Sport. So on the outside of the Atlas Cross Sport, this is still a very handsome looking SUV, but what about the interior? Before we get inside, let me remind you guys what the key fob looks like. This is essentially Volkswagen's current intelligent access key fob. It's a nice designed key, that it's a good size. It also has a good weight to it. It has your typical buttons here for lock, unlock, power liftgate, panic, and then if you guys go for the tech package and up on the SE, you'll get the remote start feature. And then I believe if you're an owner, you'll also have access to your smartphone through the Volkswagen Connected Services app. Now, as you can see, approaching the door handle, it's a traditional pull style. You just touch that area there, that will lock the doors. My test car is missing power folding mirrors that you get on the premium package. Touch the back of the door handle, that will unlock the door for you. This vehicle does not have an auto walkaway lock feature, but it does have an auto walkaway unlock feature, which is kind of interesting. But as you can see, my test car with the color combination, this is the Mountain Lake Blue with the Titan Black leather interior. So as you can see, when you guys go for this trim here, you get some contrast black or contrast white stitching. You can also get this color with their crystal gray leather. There's also a cinnamon brown leather that's available with the avocado green, which is a new color this year. I think this black with the contrast stitching is a nice combination. I do think that the Vienna leather that you get in the premium package looks even more upscale with the quilted design, the diamond quilted material. It's also a softer leather, but this is still pretty nice. The seats are a 10-way power adjustment for the front seats. You also have a 3-person memory. They are heated and ventilated. All Atlas Cross Sports or Atlases, even the base version, come with heated and ventilated seats. So that's an unexpected touch. Most competitors make you pay extra for it, which is fantastic. If you want massaging seats, it's a new option this year. Again, you have to go for the premium package to get the massaging seats. Now looking at the door panel materials, there's a nice soft touch injection molded plastic here. This material here tries to look like a carbon fiber weave, but it's just a plastic trim. You do have silver painted plastic along the door handles, but they feel pretty high quality. Nice padded leather here, perforated leather here. Window controls, they have a nice satisfying click to them. They are one touch up, down for all 4. Your mirror controls, of course, are right there. Hard touch plastic down here with more additional storage, but overall, it certainly makes a nice first impression. The R-Line trim also includes the alloy sport pedals, which look nice. But once you get inside, this vehicle does have a pretty easy step-in height with around 6.5 inches of ground clearance. Now, as I shut the door has a pretty solid sounding thunk. Remember, this is built on the MQB architecture. That rattle you heard is just my garage clicker, so ignore that. Once you want to start the vehicle up, start-stop button is this square right in front of the shifter. And this is not a hybrid or a mild hybrid, so the engine starts up with the usual purr. And then once you're looking at the rest of this cabin, it's going to be pretty familiar if you guys are used to Volkswagen's current interiors. Now, all of them are going to come with a 12-inch centered touchscreen over here, with a 10.3-inch digital driver's display. The steering wheel, of course, doesn't have their touch-sensitive buttons, which is nice. It's a flat bottom wheel. The R-Line model includes this R-Line badging and this R-Line specific steering wheel, which includes paddles. The wheel itself offers a manual telescoping adjustment, so it has a good amount of adjustability to get comfortable. The SEL models will also include a heads-up display, which typically a lot of brands make you go to the very top trim, so it's nice how Volkswagen includes it on this SEL trim. You can see the upper dashboard has a soft touch injection molded plastic, more of that fake carbon fiber weave on the dash that's carrying over from the door panels. I don't love the piano black here. This is going to show smudges, dust, and fingerprints. I also don't love the touch sensitive sliders here. They are at least illuminated now, but again, if you want to do the volume, you have to slide it with your finger there, or you can also use the volume controls here. Temperature is again right here of these via these touch sensitive controls. And then this is technically Volkswagen's older software. It's not their newest one that we experienced in the Tiguan with the 15-inch display. But the cool thing about this software is it has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. But if I want to change, for example, the color of the ambient lighting, the newest software actually has a dedicated tab for it. In this model, you have to go to Vehicle, you have to go to Settings, and then you have to go into so many different menus, which I literally was showing myself how to do this earlier, and of course now I can't find it. But this is kind of where the software behind this isn't quite as good as some of the newer systems that we've tested. There's just a lot of menus that's buried into the system here. Again, the last Tiguan that I tested was much better in that regard. Now, it does include factory GPS, although most of you are probably just going to use your phone with the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto or whatnot. Your heated and cooled seats are located in the screen. You can see it's got their dual zone climate control function, and the cooled function works pretty well. So it's nice how it's actually standard. If I put the vehicle into reverse, there's your 360 or your backup camera, no 360 camera, just front and rear parking sensors. It includes trajectory. I believe it also has cross traffic braking in the rear. But again, spend the extra $3,000 to get the top down 360 camera. That would be nice. Overall though, I noticed that the software behind this can be a little bit slow and laggy. But for the most part, it looks nice, and at least it's a 12-inch display, which is on par with a lot of its rivals. Down here, you can see there are some drive mode selector here. There's even an off-road mode, even though there's no peak edition of this vehicle. And then you can also go into your driver assistance menu there, your dedicated climate menu there, traditional air vents. You have 2 USB-C charging ports, a wireless phone charging pad. I don't love the piano black here. And then this little toggle is to control the 8-speed automatic. Decent sized cup holders, and you also have pretty big amount of storage down here, along with more storage here. Nice padded center console. Open that up, you can see you've got another USB-C there, and it also is a pretty decent size. The seats are comfortable and supportive, but I personally would like the Vienna leather that's a little bit more supple in the SEL premium trim. And then you can see there is some faux leather, or at least leather stitching along this lower portion. Open that up, you can see the glove box is pretty big. It's stamped but not lined with felt. The Rearview mirror is auto dimming. It's a frameless design, but there's no digital camera rearview mirror. You do also have LED map lighting here. You have a big pano sunroof, which goes into the second row, which includes a retractable shade, which is fantastic. And you can also open it up to tilt and vent air, which is great. Build quality seems average. And it also didn't have any squeaks and rattles. So overall, while this interior doesn't feel luxurious, the 3-row Atlas will actually give you some fake wood trim as opposed to the fake carbon fiber. It gets the job done. It has good visibility. It has most of the tech that you'd want. Just keep in mind, if you've been in some of the newest VW products, this interior isn't quite up to the same snuff with their latest software. But let's go ahead and hop into the backseat area, and we can show you guys just how practical this vehicle is, because when VW deleted the 3rd row, they allowed the 2nd row to get even more space. In fact, the company says you have 40.5 inches of legroom back here, which is among the best in the segment. These seats also do have the ability to fold down and recline. I showed you the fold down feature earlier. The seats themselves are also 3-level heated, which is a nice touch. And then if you go for the tech package and up, you'll get the retractable sunshades, which is a great feature for parents that have small kids. Material quality back here is the same, soft touch with the faux carbon fiber, leather down here, and then more storage here. It's all hard touch plastic as expected. But once you get inside the 2nd row, you can see if you've got super tall friends or you just want to carry up to 3 people across, this is where you're going to love the back seat of the Crossport, because you have tons of legroom space, a nearly flat floor here for the middle passenger. You do have 2 storage cubbies, although some VW models have additional storage cubbies at the top. You have rear seat air vents, 3-level heated seats, but no 3rd zone climate. You do have 2 USB-Cs, and then you can see there's actually a 12-volt power outlet there, which is a nice touch. And then if you fold this down, there's an armrest with 2 cup holders. And then if you want to recline the seats, there's a little lever here. You pull that. It actually allows you to recline the seat a pretty decent amount. So this is going to allow you to get pretty comfortable back here on those longer trips. If I recline it back up, you can see headroom space. I have a solid maybe 2 inches of headroom clearance, so that's not too hateful. But overall, if you plan to use this as your family vehicle, the fact that VW expanded the 2nd row when they deleted the 3rd row is a wise decision, and this is going to be one of the most spacious back seats in the midsize 2-row SUV class. So here we are back behind the wheel of the latest 2025 Volkswagen Atlas Crossport. It's kind of crazy to think that VW has given this vehicle 2 refreshes, although technically, yeah, actually the Crossport also has gotten its 2nd refresh, because VW kind of gave it one in 2022 and then again in 2024. And this particular model that we're driving is a new trim level this year called the SEL R-Line Black. It essentially replaces the old SEL R-Line. There's still a trim above this that's called the SEL R-Line Premium that I personally would go for the extra $3,000, but with the refresh, all Atlas Crossports essentially got the company's new, latest 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that makes 269 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque. That's actually less horsepower than the old V6, but a little bit more torque and a lot more power and torque versus the pre-refresh model, which also offered a 2-liter turbo. Now, the last Atlas that we tested did 0 to 60 in around 7.3 seconds. Let's go ahead and see what we can get in the Crossport. To get the best time, you basically put it into sport mode for the drive mode, and then sport for the transmission, and we'll go ahead and we'll brake torque it and see what we can get. All right, on that run, we got 0 to 60 in 7.26 seconds there. So 7.26 is a smidge, like 0.1 seconds faster versus the latest Honda Passport Trail Sport that I tested on that same stretch of road. It is a little bit faster, like 0.1 seconds faster than the regular 3-row Atlas Cross Sport, although technically VW says this model is like 200 pounds lighter than the 3-row Atlas, so I'm actually surprised that it wasn't able to crack into the under 7-second mark. But regardless, you don't buy a vehicle like this to go, do drag racing and obviously in it, but having good power is obviously going to be an important factor. Let's try another run here and see if we can get a similar time. It actually felt better there. It didn't hesitate like on the first run. 7.5 seconds there. That's with it more going slightly uphill. So this acceleration is pretty comparable to a lot of its rivals. We're going to talk about rivals like the Honda Passport, of course, the Nissan Murano, the Subaru Outback, although the Outback with its turbo engine is going to be much faster. And then there's the hybrid-powered Toyota Crown Signia, which technically gets the best gas mileage in the segment. But regardless, this is a solid powertrain that is smooth for the most part, but it doesn't have a really great noise to it. When I put my foot down, I don't love the sound of the engine. It's kind of making a synthesized whiny sound, and it doesn't sound like any other 2-liter turbo that Volkswagen has. I mean, I just got out of this powertrain in a GTI and a Golf R, and I just don't get why it sounds like whiny and just annoying in this vehicle, even though they're the same engine. Now, the 8-speed auto in this car, for the most part, is a good transmission, although I did notice it kind of stumbles over itself when I shift from first to second. It is relatively responsive, which is good. The vehicle itself isn't sporty. The Atlas has been tuned definitely more for comfort. We are on the smaller 20-inch alloy wheels. There's a fully independent suspension without adaptive dampers, and for the most part, the SUV soaks up the bumps nicely. It is competent around corners. The steering is relatively quick. It doesn't offer much in terms of feedback, but you know, for a vehicle that looks as sporty as it is, I was kind of hoping Volkswagen would kind of infuse this vehicle with some fire from the GTI. That would definitely be nice, but for the most part, it kind of reminds you this is a big, comfortable SUV that's designed for American roads, for American buyers, and the seats are also pretty comfortable. Not much in terms of lateral support, but on longer trips, this is just the standard leather. You're gonna find the seats to be good, but also keep in mind, if you guys want massaging seats, it is available now for 2025 on the SEL Premium R line, which my test car is lacking that because it doesn't have the premium package. Let's try one more 0 to 60 test here, see if we can get a consistent time. Shifts at around 6,500 RPM. 7.24 seconds there, so we'll take that as our best time. It is pretty much average numbers. It's not going to light your hair on fire, but there's certainly room for a more powerful version of this powertrain. I mean, I just kind of think that VW should stuff the Golf R's engine underneath here and have it produce, you know, over 300 horsepower. That would kind of give this thing that edge that it needs. But for the most part, most people are not going to buy a vehicle like this, you know, to drive as aggressively. I just kind of do it for, you know, purposes, just to show you guys how it compares to its rivals. But switch the drive mode back into its comfort setting there. That's how most people are going to drive this vehicle. The Atlas Cross Sport certainly feels big. It's a wide vehicle that, you know, takes up most of the road, but at the same time, it's not horrible to drive. This vehicle is around 5 inches shorter than the 3-row model, and you're going to notice it's a little more maneuverable. They have the same wheelbase. They're practically the same width. I have a decent commanding view of the road. This vehicle only has, according to Volkswagen, 6.5 inches of ground clearance, which is low. That's kind of where, you know, something like the Outback or even the Passport Trail Sport will offer 8 inches or more of ground clearance. So there is room for VW to do a Peak Edition of the Cross Sport, but sadly the Peak Edition is only on the 3-row model, which doesn't make sense to me. The Cross Sport should offer it as well. But as I go around corners here, the steering is a little bit lighter in comfort mode here, and the vehicle itself is just easy to drive. I can see out of the front really nicely. There is no digital camera rearview mirror, which would have been nice. And then Volkswagen's latest IQ driver assistance tech is also included with this model, which is standard equipment, which is fantastic. I love the fact that this vehicle comes incredibly well equipped. Heated and cooled seats are even standard, which is fantastic. Although I think most people will probably want to spec in the SE with technology package to get a couple of features like the power liftgate and the rear manual sunshades. When you're driving the vehicle normally, the transmission is actually a lot smoother, and it, for the most part, just kind of is a willing partner to this 2-liter turbo. I just don't like the sound. This is kind of where Volkswagen really should be offering an electrified hybrid version. I mean, stuff an electric motor with this powertrain in between the 8-speed auto, and now we're talking. If they can do over 300 horsepower, get over 30 mpg, that would be a fantastic combination that I really hope that Volkswagen will offer in the future, because this is definitely still a very competent SUV. I can see why it's been doing extremely well for Volkswagen in terms of sales. It's smooth, it's quiet for the most part. I don't really hear any squeaks and rattles, and the interior stays pretty quiet aside from the whiny engine that makes its way in here. That's the only thing that I don't particularly love. Now, in terms of fuel efficiency, with that 2-liter turbo, it's rated at 19 in the city, 26 on the highway. In my week's worth of testing, I was averaging around 18 mpg in mostly city driving, which is not fantastic. On the highway, I got around 25 mpg, which again is a little bit lower than the EPA's rating and not really that much better than the V6 powered Honda Passport that I tested. Now, with its 18.6 gallon fuel tank, range should be just under 400 miles. I did right around 370 miles of range, which is not amazing, but it's fine. This is kind of where the hybrid powered Toyota Crown Signia will do better. But I do find this vehicle to be more satisfying to drive and live with versus the last Nissan Murano. I also don't love the way the Murano looks. The Murano is definitely a little bit more soft than this vehicle, but at the same time, the Volkswagen is still comfortable, but a little bit more sporty. Then there's also the Mazda CX-70, which the Mazda is significantly bigger. I don't really consider the CX-70 to be a competitor because it's so much larger than this vehicle. If you actually want a smaller size vehicle without the third row, I mean, I personally would want Mazda to, I would have wanted Mazda to actually shrink the car. But overall, the Atlas, even though it is starting to get a little bit long in the tooth, Volkswagen gave it a really significant update last year that's kind of keeping the vehicle fresh. Although now that I've spent some time in the new Volkswagen Tiguan, which has an even bigger 15-inch display, this 12-inch display is starting to look a little small. At least it does have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but I did notice that it's not quite as quick and snappy, and it's not the newest software system that we saw in the Tiguan. So that's kind of, leaving room for VW to introduce a fully redesigned version of this vehicle, which I'm imagining is probably going to be coming in the next year or so. But until then, the current Atlas and the Atlas Cross Sport are certainly still worthy options. Just keep in mind, they're not going to have the best fuel efficiency, but you still get a model that has one of the most interior space in the segment. It has a solid powertrain. It has solid technology. Everything about it is just kind of average, but it also, is free of most annoyances. And, with the price point that they give you with all the interior space, it's no wonder that this vehicle is so appealing to a lot of American families. Now, with just under 39,000 units sold last year, the Atlas Cross Sport had its best sales year, one of its best sales year ever in the US last year, which doesn't surprise me at all because this vehicle and the three-row version are an unexpectedly good offering in the mid-size three-row or two-row family SUV space, especially after you factor in all the changes that Volkswagen has made. If you look at the total Atlas sales, this model accounts for roughly 34% of the sales mix. So Volkswagen has pretty much a winner on their hands because the Atlas name is the best-selling nameplate in the US. Technically, if you combine the two vehicles, this nameplate outsells the Volkswagen Tiguan. So after spending a full week with the latest Cross Sport model, I have to say, if you guys basically like the three-row Atlas, but you don't need the extra 5 inches, you don't need the extra cargo space, you don't need the third row, and you like the design of this kind of Q8-like shape, it looks kind of like an Audi at the back, this is definitely going to be a solid offering. The SEL R-Line Black Edition is a little bit cheaper versus the fully loaded premium package, but it gives you kind of that sportier look, that more sinister design with all the black accents, the black 20-inch wheels. The acceleration that you're going to get from the standard 2-liter turbo is pretty much average to slightly better than adequate. We got 7.2 seconds, which is perfectly acceptable. It'll keep pace with most of its rivals, but at the same time, it has a smooth transmission, most of the times at least. I just don't love the sound of this engine. I really would like to see Volkswagen add an electric motor and turn this powertrain into a hybrid. That would be fantastic whenever Volkswagen decides to do that. The ride quality is also more on the comfortable side, which is fine. It's going to appease the typical buyer for this vehicle. The backseat is also huge. Cargo area is great. The technology is pretty good, although again, we've had a chance to sample the latest tech in the Volkswagen Tiguan, and I'm looking forward to Volkswagen implementing the bigger 15-inch display in this model here because it could use it, considering this is, again, their biggest vehicle with their biggest interior, or at least their biggest SUV. Downsides, of course, are going to be the fuel efficiency. It's not going to be as fuel efficient as some of its hybrid offerings, and it's also not going to be as quick. And if you're looking for a more off-road oriented model, this is where the Passport Trail Sport or the Outback Wilderness is going to come into play. So I would like to see Volkswagen do a peak edition of this model just to, again, expand the appeal. Everybody is looking for a more outdoorsy version nowadays. Now, in terms of the pricing, this is where the Atlas Cross Sport also has pretty strong value because if you're looking to get your hands on a base SE, which honestly is very well equipped with most of the features that you'd want, it starts at around $38,300, around $1,000 less expensive versus the three-row model. So again, it's kind of showing that because it's smaller, it's less practical, it's a little bit cheaper. Most of you are probably going to spend the extra $2,000 to go to the SE with technology package. That's going to roll in some of the features that I mentioned, like the rear sunshades, of course, the hands-free power liftgate. I highly recommend adding that at least. The SEL version is going to cost another couple $3,000 extra on top. But this model here that I'm showing you with the R-Line Black Edition package is an extra $2,000 on top of the SEL. So this model here is going to start at around $49,000, add destination and a couple of other extra accessories that my test car has, and you're looking at an as tested price of just under $51,000. Again, 51 grand is pretty comparable to a lot of its rivals. In fact, it's cheaper than the last Passport Trail Sport that I tested, although to get all the features that compares with the elite version of the Passport, you need to spend an extra $3,000 to go for the SEL Premium, which the premium package is going to roll in the 360 camera, the upgraded leather, for example. I personally would add that for an extra, or for that model, topping out at around 54 grand. But again, this vehicle offers a lot of value for money, a lot of interior space, a lot of technology features, so it's no surprise to me that it remains one of the best-selling vehicles in Volkswagen's lineup. And I'm also very excited to see where the next generation is headed, because it needs to go hybrid or bust, to be honest. That's where Volkswagen and the rest of the industry are basically headed. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2025 Volkswagen Atlas Cross Sport. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.